Good morning. My name is Richard, and I've got a little thought for the day from a story from the Hebrews history, and it's all about Josiah, one of the kings. So I'm reading from 2 Chronicles, chapter 34, and verses 1 to 18. So here goes. This is the NIV version. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 31 years. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and followed the ways of his father David, not turning aside to the right or to the left. In the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, he began to seek the God of his father David. In his 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem of high places, Asherah poles, and idols. Under his direction, the altars of the Baals were torn down. He cut to pieces the incense altars that were above them, and smashed the Asherah poles and the idols. These he broke to pieces, and scattered over the graves of those who had sacrificed to them. He burned the bones of the priests on their altars, and so he purged Judah and Jerusalem. In the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simeon, as far as Naphtali, and in the ruins around them, he tore down the altars and the Asherah poles, and crushed the idols to powder, and cut to pieces all the incense altars throughout Israel. Then he went back to Jerusalem. In the 18th year of Josiah's reign, to purify the land and the temple, he sent Shaphan, son of Azaliah, and Maaseh, the ruler of the city, with Joah, son of Jehoaz, the recorder, to repair the temple of the Lord his God. They went to Hilkiah, the high priest, and gave him the money that had been brought into the temple of God, which the Levites, who were the gatekeepers, had collected from the people of Manasseh, Ephraim, and the entire remnant of Israel, and from all the people of Judah and Benjamin, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Then they entrusted it to the men appointed to supervise the work on the Lord's temple. These men paid the workers who repaired and restored the temple. They also gave money to the carpenters and the builders to purchase dressed stone and timber for joists and beams for the building that the kings of Judah had allowed to fall into ruin. The workers labored faithfully. Over them to direct them were Jahath and Obadiah, Levites descended from Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam, descended from Kohath. The Levites, all of whom were skilled in playing musical instruments, had charge of the labourers, and supervised all the workers from job to job. Some of the Levites were secretaries, scribes, and gatekeepers. While they were bringing out the money that had been taken into the temple of the Lord, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of the Lord that had been given through Moses. Hilkiah said to Shaphan, the secretary, "I found the book of the law in the temple of the Lord." He gave it to Shaphan. Then Shaphan took the book to the king and reported to him, "Your officials are doing everything that has been committed to them. They have paid out the money that was in the temple of the Lord, and have entrusted it to the supervisors and workers." Then Shaphan the secretary informed the king, "Hilkiah the priest has given me a book," and Shaphan read it in the presence of the king. So there we are. That's the story of young Josiah, made king when he was just a boy, and reigned for 31 years, which is a pretty good record in Judah and Israel. Anyway, as you know, he was one of a sequence of kings who ranged from good to bad, and in fact very good to very bad. So, the record is terribly mixed, from high points to low points. High points, of course, with David, who was greatly valued as a king and honourable to God, and the low points with, in fact, Josiah's father, Amon, who was one of the baddest of the bad, and he allowed all these Asherah poles and idols and worship of other gods in general to take over from the temple and our God. And it was a massive turning away. As we read, the temple was allowed to fall into ruin more or less and just ignored, and everyone was completely diverted to worshipping Baal, one of the baddest of the bad gods that they were seduced by, and also Asherah. She was a goddess who they all worshipped and made sacrifices to. So the people had really gone violently astray, and good old Josiah brings them all back from such a young age. As a teenager, he started to do all this and bring Judah back to some sort of normal behaviour and following God. So he's one of the heroes in the story, and following a father who actually, his father Amon, was killed in the end by the near ones around him, and they put Josiah on the throne instead of him. So quite a story. Now, we can't probably quite match that in modern times. We don't tend to find many Asherah poles around BenBinFro, but are we just seduced away from God by other things, other attractions that just consume our attention and our time? I think the answer is definitely yes to that. So we don't actually start bowing down to other things, but what about how our time is taken up? We certainly get attracted to other interests. And in fact, it's one of my long themes that I trot out quite often, is that people don't turn away from Christianity. They just don't find time for it. They think my life is going on all right at the moment. I'm in charge. I can do everything I want. So I don't need to go and find God. I think that's the position we're in, isn't it? And we do get seduced by other things that take our attention. So the result, our churches are rather empty because people have got so many other things that they find they want to do on Sunday or whatever, and in fact don't turn to God for their direction and help and strength in life, which I hope that we do when we see God as our great guide and counsel and help and steering us through all life's troubles and everything else. Anyway, so my thought really is that although we don't quite match the times that Josiah had to deal with, we have a similar crisis in the sense that we've all steered away from God, or many people have, and we seek other attractions and other things take up our interest. So Josiah was a good lad. He did very well. He lasted out, unlike some of the kings in Hebrew history, who either got bumped off or just went completely down the pit. So let's take some message from that keep focused on God, keep our attention and look to Him for steering us, guiding us, and everything we do, God is at the centre of it, and not be distracted by so many other things that seem to be able to take a place in our lives that He should be in. So that's my very simple message. I hope that's of interest to you. So think of Josiah today as you set about your tasks and what he took on. Okay. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. I hope the sun shines on you today, and have a very blessed day. God bless. Goodbye.